Here, going back to cloud applications. All right. Now you're supposed to have read this already, because as I go through the topics in the class, you should have read not only the portions that I have covered, but also a little bit ahead of me, so that you know what I will be talking about. Some people in this class already know this stuff, and they may not need to read it, but the rest of the class really should be reading ahead of me just a little bit. Okay, the first question is, what is the cloud? I mean, that's really a very good question. The cloud is kind of vague. It depends on who you ask, from what context. The answer can be a little bit different. Most people in the ITC is the new term for computer-related stuff, okay? ITC stands for Information and Computer Technology. And I think a lot of industry and also educational institutions will start to change the terminology from IT and computer science as two separate things into ICT as one single unified thing. So the ICT industry has an idea of what it is, but few can actually define it. Now, in this class, we don't need a very technical definition, but what I would do is I would share with you, all the important attributes of something that is cloud-based. The first part is it is a remote resource, not local to your particular computer, whether it's a desktop, notebook, or mobile computer. Now that's a big item, because what that means is, let me get my prop here, which is my cell phone. So what that means is cloud app is not on my phone. The cloud app is not in this box. The cloud app is not on your tablet. It's not on your notebook computer. I can roll this over with my car, okay, and shatter my cell phone completely, but my documents and all my files that are stored in the cloud will still be okay. It will be completely nothing will happen to it because of this computer getting trashed or damaged or destroyed altogether. Okay, so that's one really important attribute. It is a remote resource. It is network accessible, which is kind of an implication from the first one, because if it is remote, how are you going to access it? Do you have to drive to the data center to access it? No, you can use the network to access it. Cloud uses virtualization. Now this part, most consumers do not see this part, but in the ICT industry, people have to be aware of this, because virtualization is a very important technology in the back end. Okay, from the front end, which is from the consumer's perspective, as long as it works, it's good, right? But from the back end, how do you keep something working all the time? That is the question. This technology allows a server to continue functioning when hardware is being serviced. It also lends itself to scalability. A server can move from one physical computer to another. Think a virtual server as a ghost. It can possess different bodies, moving from one to another. Now, the last one is probably something that people can read and understand. Go like, oh, so that's what virtualization is, because that really is what virtualization is about. Okay, so think of a ghost story. Okay, think of a ghost story. A ghost, a spirit, is possessing a particular body. Okay, and let's just say that that body is involved in a car accident. Okay, so the physical body is about to die. All right. In this case, it is equivalent to a physical computer, a physical server is about to die because the hard drives are failing, the motherboard is failing, or something along that line. So what we can do is, instead of saying, oh no, all the data stored on this computer will be lost, and we can no longer make that application function. They can move the application, they can move the entire system, the virtual machine, from this physical computer to another physical computer in a millisecond. Okay, so just like that, the entire server is moved from one physical computer to another physical computer. So in the ghost story, it is equivalent to the ghost or the spirit going from one physical body to another physical body in a millisecond. Just like that. Okay? So are we doing okay so far with the concept of virtualization? Most people are getting kind of what it is about. Okay? Now, it also applies when the physical body is not about to die, but it requires maintenance. Okay, so let's just say that the person, so the ghost is possessing a particular body. That body is okay, it's functioning, but it requires an open heart surgery. And then the ghost is thinking, well, but I still want to keep on functioning. I got stuff to do. I got things to think about. So I don't want to lose 7 hours just because I need to just because the body needs its open heart surgery. So at that time, the ghost can just transition, go from one physical body, the one that is going to receive the surgery, to another physical body and continue to function. Okay, 7 hours later, this body is is done. The surgery is a success. The body is is finally functional again. The ghost can come back to the same body and continue to operate from that physical body. Are we doing okay so far with this? Oops, it's doing something.
You started talking about spirits and it did something.
Yeah,
And it is
right when you went.
Yeah, the task extension application on your computer is requesting access to your Google account. It doesn't really matter, just close it. All right. So this is really useful because what happens is, let's say you have a physical server and you are Amazon.com. Okay, so you have one gigantic, high performance, server. Well, everything requires maintenance. Okay, eventually you have to shut down the computer to maintain it. Okay, it can be blowing out all the dust. It can be changing the processor, adding more RAM, and it requires shutting down the entire system. Amazon probably doesn't want to shut down the server and lose the ability to serve customers like us, right?
Yeah.
Because if Amazon loses like let's say half an hour of online time of being able to access it, how much money do you think it will be losing? Let's say it is in the middle of the day on Wednesday.
Hundreds of thousands.
I would say probably millions.
Yeah.
Okay, so they don't want to shut down the system. So that's equivalent to a physical body requiring an open heart surgery because it is a required maintenance item. They have to do it. But if they have this particular virtualization technology, they don't have to shut down because all they have to do is to say, oh, guess what? We have another spare server over here. Transfer the virtual machine over to the other server, and then this other server can now be shut down for maintenance. Now, the other server, the quote-unquote backup server, may not have exactly the same high performance, but nonetheless, they will still be able to continue with their business. And then, when this main server is done, they can transition it back over. Yep, there was a hand. Go ahead.
Yes. Because it's virtual, it's almost instantaneous. That kind of information doesn't take a long to transfer.
No, it does not, because now this is getting a little bit technical because everything is actually stored on a mass store device, including the RAM content of a server is actually stored on a mass store device, or it can be transferred to a mass store device in an instant because these are very high performance storage devices. So what happens is when one server has to shut down, the entire state of the server is stored onto the hard drive, and then the other physical server is actually hooked up to the same hard drives or the same storage subsystem, so it can bring everything back up in an instant, in milliseconds, and then continue to have the server to function.
So it's like a backup. I guess I'm trying to compare it like when I transfer big files on a USB to a hard drive. It takes so many seconds.
Yeah, but these are super high performance systems. They are transferring easily terabytes per second, if not faster. Yep.
And the auxiliary server or whatever can be of kind of different dimensions and that kind of stuff because it's scalable, right?
Because it's scalable, right? So as long as it has enough space for the virtual machine, then you can move it over there. It might run slower than the original one, but
you're
it will
still
still
making
run.
that money.
Yep, you will still be serving you'll still be serving your customers, even though each click may take a little bit longer, to have a response back. Go ahead.
So when you're like on a website and it says like, oh, this website's having some technical difficulties, check back later, is that because they don't have the cloud server?
Well, there are many things that are required to serve web pages. So this is one of the reasons why they may be down for the moment. Yep, go ahead.
when you're saying it transfers in like millisecond
Right.
or whatever, does it lose speed when it goes to the other one, so the other one's fixed?
It depends on what the other one is. So if you're transferring to a faster, hardware, then you are actually speeding up after the transfer. If you're transferring to a slower hardware, then it will slow down. And there's another question. Go ahead.
When you're talking about virtualization, it means that we consider that as a second memory?
No, it is. The software running on the computer is kind of like, for the lack of a better comparison, it's kind of like spirit, okay? Your mind versus your body, okay? The mind is something that can be virtualized. The body, it has to be physical, okay? So this is kind of, so the concept of virtualization means a separation between the mind and the body. This class is no longer a computer science class, right? We're going into this spiritual stuff. But that's basically what it is a separation of the mind from the body. So the mind can migrate from one body to another, and while, one body is being, serviced, okay? Having a surgery or something like that, maintenance items to be performed. Now, of course, in this technology, you can also have multiple minds, inhibiting the same body. Okay, which, I don't want to go into that as an analogy, but that's something that you can do with this kind of technology.
You should totally write a novel about that. You could totally write a sci-fi novel about that.
Well, there has been, sci-fi, based on this kind of stuff already.
Where you could swap cyber brains and you being able to move your data from one brain
Yes.
to another.
Yeah, the Japanese, anime society community have been working on this type of topic. Which this is also, by the way, it's called the genre is called cyberpunk. Okay, so the Japanese anime people, they have been doing this sort of thing, since 2000, way before we have the cloud or make virtualization,
That's
something
Ghost
that
in
we
the
do.
Shell.
Yeah, Ghost in the Shell is one of the very. It really is. I mean, we think about it as sci-fi, but I think it's going to happen soon. Okay, within your lifetime, I think we'll start to see something kind of like that. May not be, as sophisticated as that, but it will happen eventually. Okay. All right. Now, I know this is a digression. I was talking to my son the other day, and I was saying, my son is 8, okay, in 3rd grade. And I told him, by the time he grows up, he's not going to drive a car like I'm driving, okay? I drive a stick shift. It's a hybrid, but it's a stick shift, okay, which is kind of the weird combination. But it does work well, and I like it. But I told my son that by the time he grows up, not only will he not be driving any car that is gasoline-based, it's probably going to be full electric, he's also not going to drive the car. The car will drive itself.
Just
And I told
program
him,
it where you want to go, and
yeah, you just, voice command, okay? Go to school, go to work, go to Safeway, okay? Now, if you have 2 Safeways that are both close to your house, the car will respond, and ask, which Safeway? You have one Safeway at El Camino, another Safeway at da-da-da, and you have to choose which Safeway, right? Or you can say, last time, for the last, 10 times you have been going to this particular Safeway, would you like to go to that same Safeway this time? Okay, it's not difficult for computers to do that sort of reasoning now.
well, they're already working on the car where you don't. Where
It's already done.
Yeah.
It's already done. Self-driving cars is a reality. The only thing we have to do now is to make it less expensive. Okay, and that is something that technology does really well, right? Turning
That's what you
something.
were talking